All right. Good morning, Brock. How are you, brother? You there? Hello, 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 Brock. All right. Well, good morning to everybody catching the show this morning. Welcome to LWN Outdoors. It is Saturday, October 23rd, 2021. It's 9 o'clock Mountain Time here, so I'm an hour or two behind. How are you this morning, Brock?
Doing all right. Doing all right. I've had better mornings, but I mean, it was not.
Well, we'll share that story here in just a minute. So pause for just a minute. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. I believe Craig is probably out in the bush too. I sent him the link. Maybe he'll jump in here and when if he gets back, if he's not too busy, he may be packing something out. I don't know. We'll find out. But wow, just an update on me personally here. I spent Sunday, Monday, Tuesday working on getting my wood in, getting my fireplace set up, patching my roof, getting ready for wintertime. And no sooner did I put the tarp over the wood, it's been raining for the last 2 days. So I got some of my stuff done just in time. I got the wood heat burning in the house, so it's nice. But any updates in your neck of the woods there, Brock?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been cool, crisp, great mornings, great evenings, almost perfect, really. Not too cold, but not too warm either.
Nice, nice fall weather, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it's been here. Is some really nice fall weather. The winter here is right around the corner. I think we're going to have a record-breaking snowfall this year. 2017, we had I think it was over 111 or 120 inches of snowfall in 2017. I think we'll get that much, or maybe a little bit more this year. It's much needed. What a horrible year for moisture in my area here. And I know before I left North Dakota, it was pretty bad all across the United States and in Canada. The drought really affected all of us. So the moisture is much needed. It's needed for hunting. It's needed for the animals. So I love fall. My birthday is this month, so fall is usually one of my favorite times of the year. I like winter. I love snow, but the problem is it sticks around too long for me. I'd like it, right after Thanksgiving it could snow until after January 1st, and then by Valentine's I'd like to see snow disappear and then roll into spring come March, which the Boise Valley is definitely like that. I've mowed my yard as early as March and April in the valley, but springtime is usually another one of my favorite times of the year because it's rebirth. It's green, it's babies running around, baby animals and stuff. So I love spring, and then summer is always good. But man, it gets blistering hot here in Idaho. But anyway, what's your thoughts on the seasons?
Uh, People look at me like I'm crazy when I say this, but I love the fall as well. I love the cool weather. I'm the type of guy, you can always put more clothes on, but you can't, you can only take so much off, you know.
Yeah.
And I just like the cool weather. It's easier to work in. Um, it also means the deer are moving. It's just a great time of year for me. Family reunion, which I'm usually to, but
Well, this is the fall. The fall and the hunting season is always the prelude to Thanksgiving, and I know Thanksgiving is usually a lot of people's one of their favorite holidays. Getting together with family and having the big feast, and then that leads into the birth of Christ. And I'm going to start calling it the birth of Christ. I'm going to start referring to Christmas as that special time of the year instead of the commercial part of it. Santa Claus is nice, gifts are nice, but I'm going to start referring to it as the birth of Christ. And yes, I know historically, if you go back and not to get historical or political, but if you go back in time, they claim that that's not the true birth of Christ. Okay, that's okay, but I'm going to call it the birth of Christ because that's when we celebrate it. So that's what it's going to mean for me. But so then we roll into to the birth of Christ, and then we roll right into the New Year, which is coming at a rapid pace.
Yeah, yeah, it comes real quick. I mean, everybody can't wait for the heat to get over. Then the next thing you know, it's hot again.
Yep. Yep. Well, brother, I guess I'm gonna click my camera off for a quick minute because my coffee's waiting for me, and I'm gonna grab it. And I think let's talk about your adventures that you had this morning. I tried to get a hold of you this morning, and Brock responded to me, "Hey, just give me a minute. I'm climbing out of the tree." So let me grab my cup of coffee real quick, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, typically if it's a Saturday or Sunday morning, I'm in a tree somewhere. This morning about 8:15, I heard the leaves were damp because it rained some yesterday, but I heard some movement in the woods, and I look over to my left, and it's the same spot I've killed two other bucks in, and here comes a buck, a big wide buck. I'm not completely sure how many points he had, but he was wide. I didn't have a whole lot of time to count. I noticed he come up the ridge toward me and looked like he was angling to go back the other way. So I drew my bow back. I took a shot, and when you hear clanking, you know something's wrong. Uh, yeah, my arrow hit a limb and dropped about 2 inches below his heart and buried in the dirt. I come in the door with a muddy arrow, and the woman says, "Where's he at?" I said, "I don't know. Still up in the woods, I guess."
Well, that's all part of hunting, and that's all part of fishing. I mean, if you caught something every time you went fishing, they'd call it catching and not fishing. And if we harvested something every time we went out hunting, it'd be called, I guess, harvesting or something like that instead of hunting. So, what a great story though, and you still had an amazing experience, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely loved it. Beautiful, cool morning. I still had my light clothes on, but I should have had warmer clothes on. It was pretty cold this morning, uh, and just a beautiful experience. I enjoy any time I'm out in the woods and I get to see animals like that. It's always a joy.
Neat, neat. Well, I still haven't had with all the before winter tests that I have to get done around here and everything going on with LWN. I still have not had a chance to even get out and scout with my dad or even hunt yet. We're coming up on what is today, the 21st, right? 23rd. Um,
Yeah.
I think elk season opens here in 2 days. I really do. So after the show, I'm gonna have to make a phone call to Dad if he's watching right now. If you're watching, Dad, you better expect a phone call or come over to the house after the show. Let's talk about this because I haven't been deer hunting yet. My buddy Skip, if he's watching right now, he's invited me to come out to his property and hunt, and I haven't had an opportunity to do that. He's got a bear problem out there. It's bear season too, so I could get a buck, I could get a bear. I know he's got elk on his property too, and turkeys. So I don't know. I got to get in the game here. I feel like you guys are out playing the game, and I'm still working my rear end off. So I got to get in the game.
Yeah, I got a picture to show. Uh, Last Sunday morning, we had a beautiful morning, and I seen 11 does and one 6 point fall in the does. And my dad killed a buck Sunday
Oh wow,
morning last week.
that's beautiful. That's a beautiful buck.
Yeah, it's that time of year. It's starting to
Email
get
it to me.
cold.
Email it to me, and I can pull it up on screen.
I will. It's starting to get cool. The deer are starting to move around. It's just, I don't know. I love it. Perfect time of year for me.
Yeah. Well, fall also brings some really good fall fishing. We've got steelhead and salmon runs going on right now. We've got some trout fishing. A lot of my friends on Facebook are catching some beautiful trout out of the lakes and the rivers around here. It's a beautiful time of the year. You can still get out and camp if you don't mind a little bit of cold. You know, you can still get out in the woods and camp, even if you're not a hunter or fisherman. You can still get out and camp. Um, my neighbors are still harvesting firewood right now, so they're out in the woods. I mean, there's still a lot to do. My other friend, I saw a photo this morning of her walking, going on a hike, going on a walk this morning. So lots of outdoor activities. You got to get it in, folks, because if you live in an area like I do, where it snows a lot, kind of limits you. You kind of get stuck in the house, get a little bit of cabin fever. But with the snow comes trapping, hunting and trapping on the snow and tracking in the snow. Ice fishing is around the corner for me. Then we got winter sports, snowboarding, skiing, snowmobiling around here. So it just kind of depends on what you like. If you don't like to be cold, then you're in the house knitting. If you don't mind the cold or the snow, you're out fishing and hunting and doing things in the woods still. So, it's the great outdoors.
Yeah. To address Hawkeye, we don't weigh our puny Tennessee deer because you guys in Iowa and you guys in Ohio have like 200-pound deer. So we don't even buy that in Tennessee. They might, like a mature buck here might weigh 160, 170 pounds if you're lucky.
All right, here's Brock. Oh, here's Brock's dad. That's as big as I can make it. There's his nice whitetail. That is a beautiful buck right there. Look at the rack on that thing. Is just I love the racks of the whitetail, how they curve and they're almost perfect all the time. And the mule deer racks are sometimes a lot bigger, but they're not as precise as a whitetail, I guess I would say.
Yeah, there's some a whitetail is almost a mule deer has angles to it, and a whitetail has more curves. It's
Mm-hmm.
awkward. I don't. It's hard to explain to people when you're looking at them, but I understand what you're trying to say, Mike.
Okay. Thank you for that. I got to do some policing and some cleanup real quick. Got to get rid of a few trash bags. All right, they're gone. Well, that's a nice buck that your dad got, and you said he got that last Sunday, so a week ago tomorrow.
Yep, that is his biggest archery buck to date.
And how long has he been archery hunting?
Oh, I don't know. Really, probably since before I was born. He's told me stories about the 80s and not having deer in Tennessee and Kentucky to hunt. So,
all righty. Well, if you folks have any photos you'd like to share on the show this morning, go ahead and send it to libertywarriornation.com and I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up on screen here. So we'll see if we have anybody in Facebook real quick chatting. And if we don't have anybody in Facebook chatting, I won't turn the overlay on because that's the only reason why I have the overlay is for Facebook people. So I don't see anyone from Facebook. I guess if I see somebody chatting from Facebook, I'll put the overlay on. If not, I'll keep it off for today. So
a thing a lot of people don't know about the the area that we live in the Appalachian Mountains is a lot of people back in the Great Depression, they killed out these animals. So they done processes of bringing the animals back to the area, to the region, and people would poach them and this for years. And in the 80s, that's when they started coming up with the mechanical deer and stuff like that. So in the 90s, there were more deer, but now that we're getting into the 2021, it's getting to where our deer are getting to be decent sized. But even when I was a kid, it was rare to see a buck that big.
Really? So
Yeah.
The Great Depression of the late 20s and early 30s, people had to feed their families, so they were in the woods harvesting animals to feed the families, and it really did a huge number on the herd population.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was horrible. There's actually a park that is not far from where I live. I can't remember. I'm trying to think of the guy's pinball preparedness. He lives close to it, closer than I do. But it's not far from here. It's actually a sanctuary where they kept deer and managed it and would not let anybody hunt for years and years and years. Uh, they had to make places that for us to get population back to, and we're finally starting to see big numbers or kills and stuff like that.
Hmm. Wow, that's interesting information, because honestly, I didn't know about it. The threat that we have around here, where I live, and I've talked about it multiple times, is the wolf population here is making a huge dent on the elk population, um, and I mean they're opening hunting season on the wolf around here. I think it's getting the season's getting bigger and bigger because they just cannot control that population. You got to think about it. A bitch will throw anywhere from 6 to 12 pups, and they can do that a couple times a year. Um, that's it's a lot of dogs running in the woods, and they kill for fun and they eat a lot. So it doesn't take long for them to really be devastating in an ecosystem, especially when they're a transplant animal and they're not a native animal. They're bigger than what used to be in this area. They brought them out of Canada back in '95. I remember in high school, I graduated in '93, and in high school, the elk herds here in Idaho just used to be massive, man. Everybody get their elk every year. It wasn't hard to do because they were everywhere. Now you really got to search and find them. It takes a lot of scouting to find an elk herd, and I'm cautious about the elk herds because you don't want to take too much and then hurt and affect that herd to where they can't continue to reproduce. I think that happens a lot too. We get a lot of people that come up here. They don't pay attention to nature. They don't pay attention to the ecosystem. They're we call them the weekend warriors. Okay, they come up and there's a bunch of them, and they go out and they take everything that they can see, and it's unfortunate because that affects the population, and then on top of it, you've got the wolves that just devastate everything. So um, I see a huge thing here in our area, and the problem is I think more people need to get involved at their local level, not get into politics, but when we're talking hunting and fishing, I think you still need to be involved because it is our resources, and we need to help manage those resources and not do like we do our children, drop them off at school and expect the state to raise them and teach them. We also need to get involved at our local levels when it comes to fish and game, and see what's going on, go to the meetings, hear what's going on, so that we can help maybe vote the right people in or suggest the right people or pay attention to the herd numbers and how they're being effective by devastating winters or food supplies. I mean, there's all kinds of things that play into that, and we need to be good stewards of the land. I think my dad said that the other day, is just be good stewards of the land. I'm not a crazy tree hugging environmentalist. I don't think we should shut down logging or shut down hunting and fishing. But I think as God's children on this earth, we definitely need to pay attention and be good stewards of it and ensure that we manage it properly so that the next generation can enjoy what we do, which is hunting and fishing.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like that's what brought me to hunting is that I don't know, just love for the land. I grew up loving it. My father did it, his father did it, and so on and so forth. Originally, they were in Michigan, and but that's where they brought the herds from to repopulate this area. But anyway, I feel like the politics side of hunting is needs to be looked into more because you have people setting game species, what they call it, harvests. Um, they're setting them to what they see driving around on the road, but not what us hunters see every day when we're out there in the woods. It's like I was just telling you that we just got our numbers up to start getting bigger deer, and bigger deer for us is like 100-inch whitetail. Well, the, they see it a different way. They let us take $2 a year. And I don't like that personally. I think that we should only be allowed one because I want to see a bigger class of deer run around here. Stuff stuff you see in Iowa, stuff you see in Ohio. A lot of one buck states have big deer, and I think we all need to get involved into that as well because the people run that don't know what they're doing.
I agree with you, Brock. And listen, I think it's important. I'm gonna ask Hawkeye to jump up here in a minute too. And if Carl's out there, I know Monty's out there. Monty usually saves himself for the second hour to talk about fishing, so that's cool. I know Hawk does both of them, Hawkeye. But I think it's important for us to educate our children on exactly what we're talking about. And I want to show you something. I went and grabbed my regulations. So, keyword regulations. Okay. So here is the regulations for Idaho for big game 2021. Okay, here is the regulations. Okay, regulations for fishing here in Idaho. Okay, we are regulated. And again, I don't want to get too political, but there are politics in hunting and fishing. Heck, there's politics in camping and hiking. Okay, because certain campgrounds are regulated. Certain campgrounds are only open certain times of the year. Certain roads are regulated. You kind of catching the theme here. Certain roads are closed certain times of the year. Fishing and streams are regulated. And I think that there is, hello, Pappy. I think there is a need for management, not regulations. Does that make sense to you, Brock?
Yeah, yeah, it really does.
And we have too many restrictions and too many regulations. And I think what it should be, this is my opinion and my opinion only. Absolutely, Monty. I'll drop the link here in a second. It's my opinion that each state, and this is how the Constitution reads, each state should manage its own boundaries and everything inside of it, right? I think that the state should manage, not regulate, all of its forest, all of its public land, all of its streams, rivers, roads. I think they should manage and not regulate. And I think that should be at a local level. Some counties, are bigger than others. Some counties have, well, like me, more mountains, more roads, dirt roads in the mountains than people down in the valley that live in the city areas. So those should be, managed different than obviously down in the valley. But I think what we've done for too long is allowed government to regulate everything in our life. And I think it's time for us to say enough's enough, and we're going to take some of that power back. We're gonna manage our forest. We're gonna manage our roads. We're gonna manage our herd populations and our fish populations. We're gonna manage that because regulations lead to restrictions. And somebody writes this book and tells me what I can and cannot harvest, where I can and cannot harvest, what sex I can harvest and not harvest. So somebody writes this up, and like you said, some of them never even been in the woods. Some of them never even been hunting. This is somebody that sits behind a panel and says, "I think this is a great idea. Hey, we had a bad winter. Let's cut all the hunting off over here. Let's do this," and they're regulating everything to us. And I have a hard time agreeing with that. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link. I want you to go ahead and, if you wouldn't mind, Brock, and just comment on what I just said while I'm dropping the link. I'm going to invite Monty and Hawkeye up while I'm doing that. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I totally agree with you, Mike. I feel like the government has pushed things down on the hunting industry that have changed it. Like EHD is a real thing. I know EHD is a real thing. CWD, now that's a different story. I don't believe that. I believe that white-tailed deer will die of old age before they die of CWD. Now, that's my personal opinion. Ted Nugent says the same thing. But in West Tennessee right now, you can harvest 4 does a day through hunting season. 4 does a day. You could wipe out a population like that. I just do agree with that. They say it's because of CWD, but I think it is another way for them to eradicate to keep them out of the city. Personally,
absolutely. Good morning, Monty and Hawkeye. How are you, gentlemen?
Good morning, boys. How are you?
Good morning, guys.
I'm at work. There's my new hunting truck.
Oh, look at that beautiful thing. It looks like a Chevy or a GMC, my favorite.
It's a Chevy. And that's the old one back there. I'm at my restaurant. I told you I had a restaurant.
Yeah.
I'll walk around front. But you know what? When you were talking there, the people, the DNR people here in Iowa, they make the regulations because they pretty much know they're the same regulations that we as hunters would probably make, and I hate to disagree with you on that, but
you have a right to, sir.
They know what the population is. So if we have a really, really cold winter and it kills off a lot of our pheasant population, they might move the limit down a little bit. They won't stop you from hunting, but they're going to put the limit down. They also know what the deer population is in the. This is my restaurant.
Nice.
Looks like a big restaurant.
It's huge. It used to be an old power plant. But you know, the regulations aren't coming from people typically that don't know what they're talking about. DNR people are they're you and me. You know, everybody that I know that's DNR was a big hunter at one time, you know. So here we're walking around to the front of the restaurant.
And there's comments that biologists also help determine regulations, which I agree with that. I know they use them here in Idaho too, but I'm sick of all the overreach. I'm sick of regulations and restrictions. So I like the term management. We need to manage it, not regulate it, not restrict it. I think there's too much overreach.
Can you see the outcropping of can you see the outcropping over here? There's several finger outcroppings of rocks.
Yes, yeah, I can see them in the background.
Yeah. They put that out in for fish habitat. Now this is on the backside of our restaurant.
That's
so
beautiful.
I'll come in here sometime. We've had guys pull huge northern walleye right out of here. Over here, all these trees over here, we have last year we had 50 mated pairs of eagles in those trees.
Wow.
There's typically 1,000 ducks in this area. This is the only area on the Iowa River that stays open, not frozen in the real cold of winter. And that's where the eagles nest up in there. So this is where I own the restaurant and I also work here. So I come here in the morning when I have to work and get myself a cup of coffee and just sit there and look at this all morning.
Yeah, that'd be a horrible view. Horrible view.
Yeah, I hate it. But we've been harvesting a lot of deer early on this year, and there's some really big ones. One thing you guys have to worry about, and we're finding out here in Iowa, like Reaper was saying, you know, a 200-pound here in Iowa, you know, a 200-pound deer is actually kind of normal. And I've taken deer up to 240 pounds. But in the north, now I'm in the southeast portion of Iowa. In the northwest portion of Iowa, they've got this disease called chronic wasting going on. And they can't take it out of the population. It's something that stays with the deer forever. So our DNR and our local health departments have been asking hunters to submit some of the brain material. So you got to watch out for the chronic wasting. There's not much of it here there's none of it here in southeast Iowa, but we got a lot of it not a lot of it, but we've got some in northwest Iowa. And then up by Nebraska and South Dakota. So, but I've been seeing, Jesus, I got, on a given morning, I got 10 to 15 deer in my backyard. And I got a tag to take one in our local area so I can just sit on my porch and pick one up.
Wonderful. Hey, Monty, good morning, sir. You had a story you'd like to tell real quick. You there, Monty?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was just noticing that comment that that Phyllis B put up there about East Washington. Their whitetail have blue tongue.
Blue tongue. What is blue tongue? I've never heard that term before.
It's one of those deadly diseases. Reaper could probably tell you more about it.
I haven't heard of blue
It's
tongue.
EHD. I'm pretty sure it's EHD is what they're calling blue tongue.
Well, go ahead with your story there, Monty.
Did I get that?
Yeah, I could hear it. I still don't know what it is, but maybe we can do. I'll do a little research while Monty's telling his story.
So last night, a buddy of mine, he's commissioner here, and got his own little farm and everything. So he puts up a video up on Snapchat. He titled it "The Things Women Will Make Us Do," and it's two young bucks battling each other. It's pretty neat. I just messaged him a little while ago to see if he'd send that video, and I haven't heard back from him yet. But it was pretty neat. They was going at it.
Wow, that's that's what women do to us. They definitely make us go crazy at times. No offense, women. No offense.
Yeah, no offense.
Well, I got it pulled up. You guys want to take a look at it real quick?
Yeah.
You are correct there. You are correct, Reaper, about what it is. But I want to share this with everybody, so everybody gets educated. We all learn something. I'm learning too. So let me pull this over to my other screen so it's a little easier for me to read. Okay, so blue tongue is the EHD disease in white-tailed deer. Blue tongue and I can't even say those big-ass words, which basically is EHD, are viral diseases that impact farmed and free-ranging white-tailed deer. Though blue tongue and the EHD are distinctly different, these diseases are sometimes impossible to tell apart. In fact, blood test results are very similar. For the sake of this article, blue tongue and EHD will be used interchangeably. This disease is found most often in sheep, but blue tongue has also been found in other livestock such as cattle, goats, and other wild animals like pronghorn. White-tailed deer populations have been dealing with this disease for years. I'm trying to find what causes it. Blue tongue outbreaks.
Look up EHD midge, because I think that's what they call it.
It says it's spread by midges such as flies or gnats.
Yep.
So that's what spreads it. These insect vectors spread the disease when they bite deer. As a result, outbreaks are virtually untreatable and typically run the course. Wow! Look at the picture of that deer.
Yeah, Phyllis. They get bit by the midge or whatever, and then they're typically found by water because they think it drains them of moisture, and it makes them very sickly. I mean, look at the photo there.
Yeah. It looked like the tongue had swelled up. It was having a hard time swallowing, probably even breathing.
We used to have to do that to our cattle, is put dip on them so they wouldn't get blue tongue because of that.
Hawkeye, I think some states do the right thing, and I think others don't. I mean, it just depends on what state you live in, because Texas and Iowa and Ohio, they all have very premium deer, and I think a lot of the other states, if had to mimic their regulation, it would become better for everybody. And I think QDMA is what got all that started.
I don't disagree with you at all. And a perfect example is something Mike said a few weeks ago about bringing in the wolves. Now, after thinking that over, and Mike and I talked about it, I think that was a stupid idea, and who thought that idea up? Was that just the lawmakers, or was that DNR agents? And, I agree with you totally. There's bad people out there, just like there's bad people that are trying to limit what we do, but there's also good people out there that are doing it for the right reason. So,
yep, I agree with you, Hawk.
Yep.
I definitely agree with you.
well.
There are some good people. I can tell you, I went to high school with some guys here in my little small town, and they ended up getting into biology. They ended up getting into forestry and fish and game for the right reasons. And I think those people do exist. But I can tell you, here in Idaho, we do have a lot of idiots here managing our forest, managing our resources here by far. Logging is another prime example of mismanagement and horrible decisions and the wrong people doing the wrong thing. Idaho is a dumpster fire at times with the idiots that we have here managing our stuff and restricting things. So that's my stance on Idaho. Now, are there other states out there that have better management teams in place? I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I'm sure there's quite a few of them out there.
Dude,
why do you think Oregon, Washington, and California all flock to Idaho during hunting season? It's because the regulations and the people that manage Oregon, Washington, and California are horrible. They're idiots. So they all been flocking to Idaho for decades to hunt here. It's not because we have more deer and elk here. It's because the regulations in Oregon, Washington, and California are so restrictive and horrible that they all flock here. And so now we got this influx of hunters from out of state that have been coming here for decades. And now it's putting a hurting on our own herds and our own hunting and fishing here in Idaho, because all these people flock here constantly. It messes everything up, including the ecosystem. My opinion.
I will say,
I'll tell you what, they are super fun to watch. We got guys. My sister has about 1,500 acres of land she farms, and that's separated on 5 farms, and 2 of the farms have houses on them, and she rents those out to hunters during pheasant season and deer season. They come and hunt on her land. Well, these guys come from Texas with their German short hairs, and they all they want to do is run their dogs. They couldn't hit a bird if you gave them a freaking cannon. I mean, but by God, their dogs are, that's what they spend all their money on, is their dogs. So it's funny, and it's funny to listen to them talk about hunting, because these guys all come from big cities, and their idea of hunting is going out to a lodge, running their dogs, making sure they pick up a few birds, and then go back in town and eat supper. That's their day of hunting. So
they stand around the lodge. They stand around the lodge fireplace and drink their brandy and smoke their expensive cigars. That's a hard day at hunting.
Funnier than shit.
Yeah.
Is that you, Monty? Are you in that? Do you qualify for that group, sir?
No, sir. No, sir. No.
No, you're probably more like me. Stand around the campfire up on the mountaintop with a cheap Keystone Light beer after a hard day of hiking my ass off to try to even see an animal, and then I might, if I'm lucky, get a hot meal at the end of the night.
Right.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
Mike, you'll appreciate this because you're in a cold area, but this is what Northerners wear. This is what Northerners wear when it's 50 degrees out.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's 50 degrees, I'm still wearing shorts, and I'm ready for it to get down to 20 below or 0, because I know my deer are gonna want to come to me.
It's coming. It's right around the corner. Let's welcome Travis to the panel. How are you, sir?
Hey, good. How are you guys today?
Love it.
Good deal. Hey, I wanted to comment on your regulation stuff. We have to keep in mind that we have too many idiots in the population that won't respect the deer or any wildlife, and we're regulated by idiots because idiots got us in this position.
I don't disagree with you on that at all, Travis. You're right. There are people out there that we can start off with they cross into private property and hunt. They leave trash. They overharvest. They shoot. There was a big thing on Facebook here in my local area where there were several nice bucks and a doe that was shot and left. Things like that cause more regulations and more restrictions. Absolutely, I agree with that. That's why it's so imperative. I mean, I cannot say this enough times. We have to educate our children. We have to educate our children.
That was
we got
going
to
to be my next point.
The right way to be in the woods, whether it's on a hike. You don't just throw your candy wrapper down or your granola bar down or your Gatorade bottle down. You don't do that. What you pack in, you pack out. Leave it better than how you found it type of mentality. And it's so important for us to be those guardians of Mother Earth, of our natural resources, of the woods. It's that important. I can't stress it.
Yeah, that's exactly where I would head with that too. Go ahead, Reaper. Sorry, man.
I was going to touch on that. In the Appalachians, I think a lot of the problem, people going out and harvesting stuff with license without any respect for the land. I'm pretty sure here in the Appalachians, that's where hunters got a bad. Everybody has the vision of a guy sitting on a ladder with a beer and a gun, But aside from that, hunters typically are caring people that care for the land. But in this area, you still have guys that drive around, shoot deer out of the window, do whatever they can. They brought elk to our area, started in 2005, I think, and the elk numbers have tremendously. They went up, spiked, and then started to drop quick. And we still only draw 5 people per year to hunt elk. So there's something killing those elk off.
Yeah. Disease, starvation, poaching, predators. I don't know. I got a photo I'd like to share from Mama.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead,
Mike. Mike, I've got to leave. You'll appreciate this. I had my electrician fell through my roof, or fell through the ceiling of my restaurant. So I got a big ass hole I got to go fix.
That's not cool. I wanted to debate you real quick, sir, Hawkeye, on an issue real quick, because I'm going to take the stance on the Constitution side of it, and I want you to take the stance on, we need this to pay for the management of the resources. Okay, so the topic is going to be licensing, because I just heard Reaper say that people are out there hunting without a license. So I'm going to take the stance of I shouldn't need a license to go hunting or fishing. It's a God-given right. So, why should I have to pay for a license to go out and to hunt and fish? My grandfather never had to carry a license when he was a kid. He got to hunt and fish without licensing. Not until after the Great Depression did licensing for hunting and fishing really become a thing, in my opinion. It's because they needed funds for management for the restrictions that I dislike. And that's a revenue source for them besides ticketing people for harvesting out of season or ticketing people for not having a license. To me, it's just another overreach. We shouldn't have to carry a license.
Okay, so I'll take the other side. If I'm number one, why is that a bad idea to have a revenue source, to have people that are out there, DNR people, that and have a direct revenue source that is just licensing? And number two, I don't know if you've ever been out in the woods and had 10 guys out there with flashlights and rifles hunting deer at night, when if you don't have limitations on it and you don't have licensing, then you're going to have guys out there blowing up friggin' dynamite in their friggin' ponds and killing deer in the middle of the night, or here I've seen it, I've seen it probably half a dozen times where I actually called the DNR people because guys were out in their pickup trucks going through the open field with huge ass flamethrower flashlights and flashlight deer and then shooting them in the head. And those are deer that screws up all the areas that I want to hunt. Plus it's not hunting. All I want to do is just have people out there hunting. Here in Iowa, you don't have to pay for a hunting license if it's on your property. So you can hunt your property all you want. If you go to public land, you go anywhere else, you're going to have a license. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem paying $10 a year for something that I get to take advantage of all year round. And $10 is like nothing. I can't believe they can get it done for $10.
It's a lot more expensive here in Idaho. I can tell you that. But thank you for the debate. I want to table it because I know you got to get to work. And
yeah, I love you, man. I
love you too, man. I want to debate. I want to debate this though. I want to debate this again. The next show that we do that you're in there, I'm going to do a little more research on my end because I think I have valid points, but I also think you have valid points of the licensing too. And I think it's important for the viewers to hear both sides because I think it is important for licensing in situations. Absolutely.
Yeah. So just check out all the illegal hunting and fishing that's done. I know some of it's stupid ass shit, but some of it is valid. So it's just like everything else. We got to find a happy medium.
Correct. Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
Guys,
and see, that's why it takes different views to find that happy medium. We can't be an echo chamber.
Absolutely. And I got to go fix what I'm going to say it to your face, man. I got to go fix what my Sparky messed up.
Well, I've stepped through a ceiling at least once.
You know what that means.
I've stepped through a ceiling at least once in my career.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, have a great day, Hawk. We'll see you. All right, bye-bye. Well, you know what? I think that's a great topic. I'd like to go around the panel here and just get your guys' opinion on what you think about licensing or no license. What do you think there, Full Monty?
I kind of look at both aspects. Now, here in Kansas, a hunting and fishing license, both separately, are $27.50 each. That's not including your tags. That's not including your trout permits or anything. You know what I'm saying? And I can remember when they was a combination of them for both for $13, which wasn't bad. But I also understand that they have to have a revenue to pay their DNR officers. I understand that. But then again, it's kind of like that story I seen of the old boys that was crossing the Indian reservation up there in South Dakota, getting a couple trophies deer up there. They hit them by this fence and waited till their season opened, and then they crawled across the reservation fence pulled them over there, and they got busted, big time busted.
That happens. That happens
Yeah.
quite often. But what I don't like is I'm still driving a 2001 Chevy, still runs pretty good, but yet it seems like the forest officers and the forest people out there, and that regulate the forest, all the fish and game wardens and officers out there always seem to get new vehicles every couple of years.
Right.
I'm going to leave that right there, and I'm going to go to Travis. What's your opinion, sir?
Well, I keep getting it in my mind. There's so much wildlife that's just wasted from people that don't care about wildlife. What you were saying about educating our children, there's a lot of truth in that. We nobody respects land like some of us do. Everybody always gives me a hard time because I don't go hunting. It's not that I don't like hunting, but I'm not going to kill anything that I'm not going to eat. And I don't care for deer. I'll try it anyway. Anybody wants to fix it. But most people don't have the same respect for life as we do. And if it has to be regulated to keep those people from screwing it up. And they're still doing it, but it's not in as big a form.
Okay. Thank you for that, Travis. So, Brock, I'm going to give you the hardest question out of all of these. Where's the happy medium?
I think it starts with us, Mike. I think we have to look deeper into this, and I think you and Hawkeye actually debating with a happy medium between the panel. As hunters, we all need to sit down. We need to get organized and decide what we want instead of me trying to take a path by myself and not nowhere. A group of need to get together like they did in Texas and start a QDMA. Start a thing that but manages the herd at the same as keeping the one asshole from the bunch from destroying it for everybody.
I truly would like to debate. I truly would like to debate Hawkeye on this. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to tell you, Hawkeye. I'm going to go back all the way to pre 1900 and do some research as much as I can before the next show, because I want to have an honest debate back and forth with you, Hawkeye. Because I think between you and I, with my co-host Reaper and Craig the Hunter and everybody that watches, I think we can really come up with some great ideas on how we can manage. And I want to call it manage. I don't like calling it regulate. I think we need to manage things better. We got Pappy Two Bears in the waiting room. This guy is full of wisdom, so I want to hear his thoughts too. But I just think that if you have people on both sides of the issue debating back and forth and having dialogue, I think that helps you come up with scenarios that can help fix certain issues. And I know Idaho, in my opinion, and maybe there are people out there in Idaho listening that will disagree with me and say, well, Mike, Idaho's great. I love the hunting and fishing here. I've been here pretty much my entire life. I've seen it go downhill quick. It is not what it used to be. And it's very sad for me as a hunter and a fisherman to see how this whole thing here in Idaho has gotten completely, in my opinion, out of hand. And I think it's time for us to reel it back in, make some good changes, and get things on the right track. Let's bring Pappy in real quick. Before I do that, I want to share this photo that was sent to us this morning. So this is her. I believe she said this is her grandson. This is his kill.
Nice.
It's a nice looking little whitetail there. Look at how big. Like I look at the deer, but look at how big the grin is on his face. I mean, that looks like a very happy young man and he was able to go out and harvest something and put some meat in the freezer. So that's what it's all about. Monty, you sent me a video, right?
Yeah, I tried typing in the private chat, and when they did this update on Restream, it puts it backwards on the wording.
Let me.
So don't think I was purposely wording it that way. Makes it sound like I was drunk.
It's the $2. Let me see if I can.
Mike, I got to bounce. I got some stuff I got to take care of, but I appreciate your time. You guys have a good day.
All right, brother. Be safe out there.
Later, Travis.
All right, let's bring Pappy in. Morning, Pappy. How are you, sir?
I'm doing really well. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, let me turn your mic up just as high as I can get it. There you go.
Okay, well, good morning to you. Been listening with a big interest in what you've been talking about. And boy, you guys, you fellas key rating on one thing that I've always believed in, and that was respect for the animals that are out there, the wildlife that's out there. And, you know, I was born and raised on a farm in far northern New York up by Canada. And I can recall years and years and years ago of going out and hunting and various different things. But what strikes me is the memories that I have of just the things that my stepdad and my uncles and stuff and some of the neighbors had done to ensure that not only their needs were taken care of, but the needs of the animals were taken care of. For example, on planting their crops, it was not uncommon at all to plant a couple of rows of corn left on the outside for the animals. A lot of them New England farms and them Appalachian farms, boy, they're just nothing but farms about rocks and stones. And we used to pile them up through the center and have what we call hedgerows. And in those hedgerows, you know, of course, trees and stuff would grow. So we used to sit there and eat in the shade of those hedgerows when we were out in the fields. And I remember my uncle and my granddad saying, look, he said, do you ever have any apples that you eat, or you ever eaten any grapes? He said, put them seeds in the ground right here. And so they would have apple trees growing in those hedgerows. There was grapevines growing in those hedgerows. My grandmother one time they went out berry picking, and it's because they had strawberries, not strawberries, but blackberries and raspberries and stuff like that. And she related that they had planted those plants out there, you know, for the wildlife and stuff. And so I said, well, how can we carry that forward into the days and stuff that we're in now? You know, we're a lot more population and stuff. Well, you know, the people like yourselves that go out there and do the hunting and stuff, you go out there just as much the enjoyment of the environment if you do for harvesting one of the animals, and you have a great respect for them, you know. And even though, you know, people like us, we spend a lot of time out there. Other people that get a chance to go out there and enjoy it once in a while might keep in mind that, you know, they can do something too to help those animals out there to ensure, you know, things as simple as, you know, planting a few acorns they find in the ground to ensure that there's a new oak tree coming up there, or, you know, dropping their, be a Johnny Appleseed out there. Yep. You know, the only thing we'd have to watch out for is if they bring in something that's invasive or not natural to the area. And you're both talking about respect, and Mike, you're getting it from a couple of different angles, okay? Respect for not only the hunters and their ability to make wise decisions and manage their interactions with their environment, but also the other aspect of it, of what happens when people that are not close to the land are put in positions of being able to regulate what another does. Okay. And the big difference there is there's a loss of respect. There's a disconnect. So, you know, I can walk on both sides of that fence. you know. And,
Pappy,
so
I appreciate your comment. Can you stay with us, because I want to get into some philosophy with you real quick here, but I want to give Hawkeye a chance to make a comment in his restaurant real quick, and then I want to get back to you, because I got something that I want to run by you, and I want to hear your opinion on it, Pappy.
Okay.
Go ahead there, Hawkeye.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, go ahead, sir.
Okay, so I wanted to show Reaper this. Reaper, in my sub basement. Now, this is sub basement. Right here, I've got. You see that? And I've got
You're
a
starting
spot
to
over
break
there.
up a little bit, Hawk.
Okay, down front, I've got 50-yard shot right here. Okay, I've got a 25-yard shot right over here. I've got a tree stand up against one of the columns right here, a full-size tree stand that I can stand up on. So when I was competing a lot, I'd come down here and shoot, probably 2,000 arrows a week. And this is my shooting range down here.
Wow. Pretty amazing, Hawkeye.
I'm
Okay,
still in
I'm back.
trouble for busting the window in the bedroom when I was tuning my bow. I can show you guys the hole. I mean,
Look
it's
at
still
that.
there.
Can you see that big? Can you see that big valve?
Yeah.
That brought in water from the river.
Cool. Amazing.
So
How old's
there
the
you go.
building, Hawkeye? How old's the building?
The building is years old.
Awesome. I love old stuff. I love old architectural stuff, old buildings, old anything. I love it.
Here's my muddy arrow from this morning.
Down here. I
Check
got a
out
few of those.
Check out the mud. Check out the mud on the arrow there. Yep. That's a
Okay.
miss.
I'm back to work. See you guys.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Hawkeye. I appreciate it.
I think Reaper was hunting mud skippers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so here's my deal that I want to do real quick, and then we're going to, Monty, hang out with us, because we're going to talk fishing here in just a minute. Okay? I understand Hawk's side of the fence, okay, about licensing because of certain issues. Okay, and I understand what Reaper just said about, and Travis, about people coming out doing dumb things. Okay, so I'm gonna hit some philosophy with the man himself here, Pappy Two Bears. So here's something. My grandfather, God rest his soul, he's in heaven right now. He was a hunter, a very avid hunter and fisherman. He hated the regulations, he hated the licensing and everything. Like I said, he was born in 1927, right before the Great Depression. And he never had to have those hunting licenses and stuff. I'm going to flip over to the philosophy of Pappy, where he says, and I believe this, that the people, just like we, the people, should run the country and the politicians work for us. I also believe we, the people, should manage our own resources, natural resources in our states. And that's how it used to be, okay? And I get the fact that the populations is different. So here's where my philosophy really goes deep for you, Pappy. Way back then, in the pre-teens of the 19th century and even before the 19th century in the 1800s, before all the big cities, people were one with nature. They had their own farms. They were self-sufficient, okay? When the great cities were built out of concrete, do you feel like maybe there's a huge disconnect with these huge cities that are made out of concrete, where people are driving on concrete all day, they're walking on concrete all day, they're in concrete buildings all day, and they don't have that connection to earth like people in the country, like I do out here in the mountains, and like we did 100 years ago? Is there a disconnect? So those people that might enjoy hunting or fishing, or they want to pick it up as a hobby, they don't have the connection with earth, so they come to the woods, they come to the mountains, they come to the streams, and they're so disconnected with earth, with God, with all that stuff, because they're not feeling it, because there's so much concrete under their feet that they're walking on constantly, that they don't get it sometimes. Could that be part of our issue?
Well, first off, I'm going to agree with your line of thinking on this, okay? And I'm only going to agree on it because I've learned that to be a truth. Way back in the day, back when my mom was born in 1933, way back in those like that, out on the family farms and stuff, everybody knew each other as neighbors, and they got together and they worked and they decided, what was best for, this section that they were in, and they knew what was going on there. They knew, well, we can't cut all the woods out, even though we're heating with wood and we're cooking with wood, so we can't cut them out because we don't have any deer left over there. We don't have any, hickory nuts left. We don't have any beech nuts left out there. No walnut trees, that sort of. They got together and they figured it out. And of course, they were respectful of the land because they knew how hard it was to work the land. And if you get the land to work with you, you get a partnership there. And then, when people start getting together in these cities and stuff, it's all well and good. But even they learned something over a period of time. When they were first building the cities and everything up and getting all these concrete and raising themselves up against away from the vibrations of the Mother Earth and the natural pathways of the waterways, they changed all that and everything. After a while, they got the idea that, people, their stress levels went crazy. They went high. They started building parks and open spaces and greenways. Okay. They started to get it, and now starting to get the idea and living the idea, and going forward with it seems to be two different things, but very much so. We're connected to the earth. We are products of the earth, the food we eat, the water we drink, and if it's not treated with respect and we allow that to come into our bodies, okay, it's certainly not going to treat our bodies with respect and show us the results of it. But there's a certain frequency, there's a certain laid backness, if you will, of being out in nature and seeing how things work in harmony that is good for the human spirit, it's good for the human energy, it's good for the human disposition. Okay, the more we get into crowding that out of our lives, insulating ourselves out of that life, and filling that space with electromagnetic waves and radio waves and 5G this and chemtrails that, and these sort of things, the further we get disconnected from it. So yeah, the philosophy has to be done on a personal level in order to make a difference. Okay, because if it's allowed to be regulated by the higher levels, whether it's in the licensing, whether it's in the regulations, whether it's in the mandates, okay, these decisions are being made for people that are absolutely disconnected.
Thank you.
How do we reconnect them? That's the important thing. And we can only reconnect them like what you're trying to do through all of your channels, Mike, and Reaper, when you go out there and do your hunting and bring your people in there and show them what to do, and what Monty's doing on his channels and stuff, we do it one little light at a time. Light that little light up so that it has to work from the bottom up. If you're going to grow a good crop, make sure your soil is good. So and that's what we're doing all over again. At the great Dust Bowl days, we had to rebuild the soils out there. And that's what we're having to do now. That's what over-regulation and over-licensing and all these other things have got to us. What I found is that when somebody comes out and says, look, we're going to come up with this new license and we're going to take this money that we get from this license and we're going to use it for that purpose. I haven't seen that purpose ever manifest itself for longer than a few weeks after that stuff starts. The money gets trickled off. All of a sudden, you got a whole bunch of other people's money coming in, and everybody feels rich, and they're driving around in brand new trucks, and you're driving around on a 2001 still putting it together with baling wire and duct tape.
Yep. Oh yeah, I got duct tape
You
on.
know how that works. That's people at work.
Exactly.
So you get when you have to have interpersonal relationships with anybody on any level, it's a wonderful thing. It's very easy to do if you take people out of the equation completely. Once you put people in there, then you're going to have trouble. Okay, and that's where consensus comes in. That's where show me what you're talking about comes in, and demonstrate that it's worthy to carry forward. If those things aren't met, then we're never going to come to a consensus. We're going to have a bunch of dummies handing us down a whole bunch of fake dollar bills and telling us money.
Absolutely. Full Monty, what's your opinion? And then we're going to kick over to the fishing.
About the comedy, it reminds me of a song that Leonard Skinner had called "All I Can Do Is Write About It." It's a very interesting song, and it talks about how fast the city's growing. That's about basically it. I mean, sometimes it's harder to put it in words, but sometimes it's better to be grounded back into Mother Nature. Take off your shoes, walk in the grass. And
it's called earthing. When you do that, it's called earthing. When you can go barefooted in your backyard, in your grass, or anywhere. I know they call it Mother Earth. Earth will pull some of that nasty stuff out of your body through your soles of your feet when you're earthing. I believe it, and I believe if you walk around barefooted, sometimes it definitely connects you to the earth a lot more than your rubber soles on your bottom of your boots and all that concrete, for sure. What's your opinion there, Reaper?
My opinion is when you're out there doing it, like I say every Sunday, I tell people, get out there and do something. When I'm out there doing something, when I'm in the woods, when I'm up against a tree, 30 foot in the air, I see the birds, hear them chirp. I see the squirrels run around, listen to them squawk, watch the deer in their natural habitat. Like I said, last Sunday, I watched 11 does walk past me and a 6-point buck, and I just watched them. I had no interest in shooting anything that early in the season. I was just out there to be out there. In the summer months, you can't enjoy it as much because it's so hot. But I just looking out there. I feel like I'm connected to the earth, and it's hard to explain to people when I tell them that I love hunting and that I love the animals, because he wants to think that being a hunter, I have no remorse for the animals. It's the exact opposite. I love them. And that's about all I got for him, Mike.
All right. Well, thank you for that. We're gonna jump over to fishing real quick. I want to show you guys something. I know this is Monty's favorite subject. So let me grab this picture.
Did you happen to get that video I sent you of the deer?
Yeah, I'm not able to play it. Let me try to prep it for next week. So check this out. This is the fishing that we've got going on right here in Idaho right now. So this is a couple of Chinook couple of Chinook in Riggins, Idaho. This was taken on the 10th of October. Beautiful, beautiful fish. 15 pounds. I don't know. I think it's 15 pounds total. But Riggins is a very, very popular place for steelhead and salmon on the Salmon River. We've got the little salmon that dumps into the big salmon. The big salmon dumps into the Snake River. The Snake River dumps into the Columbia, I believe, and then the Columbia goes to the ocean through Oregon, Washington, through Washington State. And so those are some just beautiful, beautiful fish. This
I got
is
a question.
fishing for small creek trout in high mountain desert of Idaho. Go ahead there, Monty.
What exactly is Chinook?
Chinook,
Type of
that's a salmon.
Is that
It's a salmon.
salmon? Okay.
It's a salmon.
I wasn't too sure.
There's a
Nice
boat for
boat.
sale, gentlemen. So anyway, there's some catfishing going on here in the fall in Idaho too. I saw somebody the other day that caught some really nice crappie. So crappie fishing is one of my favorite. Dad's pond is now fully full now, and since we introduced the fresh water into the pond, we've got the well pump going. The fish are really active now, so it's time to get out to Dad's pond, try to catch some fish too. You guys there,
Yeah.
Monty?
Any of that? Yeah. You hear me?
Yep, go ahead, sir.
Did he ever do any of that egg lime?
No, he hadn't done any of that yet.
Just got the pump running to where it adds the water.
Yeah, it's got fresh water coming in, but we shut that off because the pond is full. So we haven't
Right.
done any more because we've both been busy with wood and other things. But yeah, it's definitely ponds are, well, at least my dad's pond is definitely something that you've got to pay attention to.
Is there a way to? What I was wondering though is if you still had water circulating in it, but it would just pull it out of the pond and recirculate it in it and keep it moving. Whether or not that would control some of your algae and the moss is what I was
absolutely. I've been talking to him about that for quite a while.
That's
That's
one
next
that's-
next year's project for sure. Check this out. This is ice fishing last year here in Idaho. That's a perch caught out of Cascade Lake.
Oh my goodness!
That's a happy little girl right there.
That's a pretty
big
perch right there.
perch.
So
Yeah,
I've got that exact same tent, ice fishing tent, a clam. I can't wait to take it out on Lake Cascade this winter and do some ice fishing and catch some perch. You should come here, Monty, and go perch fishing. There's a lot of them
Too.
around. A lot of them
Ice-
around.
Ice fishing's always been kind of one on my bucket list things.
We got a little bit of it here in Idaho, but if you really want to go ice fishing, Minnesota, North Dakota. So this is out of the snake or the it's either the snake or the Salmon River. I'm reading real quick to see. So this is, yeah, that's a sturgeon. I caught a sturgeon that was 6 foot 2 inches. I went sturgeon fishing in the Salmon River. So that one right there, I would say is probably about, I don't know, 10, 12 feet long, maybe.
Oh, every bit,
Pretty
yeah.
nice. Pretty nice sturgeon there.
You wonder how old that
So-
grandfather is.
Yeah, prehistoric, right? They've been around for forever. And here in Idaho, you're not allowed to keep them, so you got to catch and release.
Yeah. Sturgeon is one of the oldest prehistoric fishes. Fresh, I think it's freshwater fishes, right? We have.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
check that trout out there, Monty. That's out of Jackson Hole.
Oh,
Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Oh man.
What's that, a brown trout?
Say that again.
Is that a brown trout?
That very well could be a brown trout. It doesn't give a description on it. In Idaho, brown trout, or what we call bull trout, we're not allowed to keep, or Dolly Vartons. They go by a couple of different names here. We're not allowed to keep them because they're endangered. So it's catch
I
and
thought the
release.
Dolly Varton were the ones that had like the reddish flash around their gills, their gill plate.
Those are cutthroat. We can keep the cutthroat here.
Oh, okay.
So here's another picture of some happy girls catching a really nice fish.
That's a nice one.
That's just beautiful.
Man. Is that a lake trout? Can't tell.
That's the same. That's in Wyoming as well, around Jackson Hole. So
Man. Oh, I got another week or two, Mike.
nothing like torture, right? Nothing like torture. I'm just torturing you at this point. Check out this sturgeon on the back of the boat. So this is the type of boat that I went fishing on. My buddy up in Riggins, he's got a couple of jet boats, and he does. I'm gonna reach out to him and see if he'll come on the show, and I'm sure he will. We've interviewed him before on LWN when I was up at the rodeo, but he takes people out on his jet boat, and that's how I caught the sturgeon. Look at that sturgeon on the back of the boat there. But I'll have him come on the show. We'll show some pictures and stuff like we did with Neil, and his guide boat that he has there. It's totally amazing. So this is in Hell's Canyon, this is the Snake River. It's just pretty amazing.
Wow.
Anyway, that should get people jonesing for some fishing, right?
Yeah.
No, most definitely. I'm just sitting back learning from you guys. Out trout.
Pappy, do you do any kind of fishing at all, Pappy?
Oh, well, not anymore. I don't, but I don't get around like I used to with some limitations. But I grew up fishing, freshwater fishing, where we were from. You know, I live not too awful far from Lake Ontario, and they have, good musky fishing, northern pike, walleye up there, of course, the perch, trout. They had lake trout, about the time that I went in the military, they started stocking Lake Ontario with salmon. And the salmon started running in those creeks and stuff up there. And so now they got quite a salmon fishery up there, not too awful far from where I was born and raised. And I missed it. I fished all over the country, all over the world in my military travels. I've had some wonderful fishing experiences in Hawaii, catching mahi-mahi and shark fishing at night with some of the local natives. They used to spearfish out at night. That was kind of fun. And I've, I'm fishing down in Texas. Bass fishing in Texas was great. I loved it. And some of those pictures you showed of some of them big sturgeons reminded me of scuba diving in the Canyon Reservoir, which is just north of San Antonio, where they had dammed up the Guadalupe River. And seeing some of the size of some of them giant catfish down around that dam, holy mackerel,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I fished. They used to stock the river below that dam up, just south of Austin there, and they would stock it with rainbow trout. And I'll give you a little story about fishing there one day. So I'm standing below below the dam. I'm in that river where they let the spillways run out. I'm wading up and down that river like I'm fishing the streams up here in the Northeast. I've got my little spinning rod, and I'm catching some nice little rainbow trout, and I put them on my stringer to swim behind me on the side of my on my side while I'm walking, wading in that water, and I'm waist deep in that water.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty soon here comes a oar floating down the river, and next thing I know, there's some more debris, and then here comes a couple of cans of beer floating down through there. So I got myself a couple of cans of beer, and there was a cooler that came down there that had more beer in it, and I pulled that up, and and these poor fellas come down there clinging to this inflatable raft that had flipped over, and they said, "Hey, if you find anything, could you pull it to the shore?" And I kind of held up a beer and said, "Thanks." But what the funny part of that story was, I crawled out of that. I come up out of the stream after I'd done some fishing, and so I pulled the fish up to take a look at what I caught. And 3 of those fish on there were stiff as a board and started to turn discoloration. Every one of them had been snake bit by water moccasins.
Ooh.
And I was in there waiting. I was in there waiting in that water, not thinking about nothing. So that made me double think going back in there and wading again. But
Yeah.
there's a little story
Wow.
about that. So yeah, I've done some fishing.
Nice. So this right here is in Yellowstone, which Yellowstone comes in Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, and that's a nice little rainbow trout. But here is a grayling. This is caught out of central Idaho. I have never seen a fish like that.
What the?
It's called the grayling.
Yeah.
They're
I've never
a
seen
more
those.
northern fish. I must have introduced them down there. They're common
Look
up
at
in
that
Alaska, and British Columbia, and places like that.
Look at
That's
that
crazy.
fin.
Yeah, it's weird. I bet if he'd never caught one before, if I'd have pulled that out of the lake, I would have went, what kind of alien fish is that?
Like pulling out your first snakehead.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Snakeheads are weird looking. I mean, if you're not used to them.
So that is a brown trout.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That is a brown trout right there.
that's a male.
Yeah,
That's caught out of the same lake as that grayling.
they are a beautiful fish, aren't they?
Want to know how I can tell it's a male? That bottom kiosk comes out and points up
We're at
off the
show
jaw.
me.
The point
Off
on
the
the jaw.
Oh, right there.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, the
yep,
kiosk.
male. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks for
Male
thanks for telling
trouts.
us.
Male trouts have that. Females don't.
Gotcha. Let's see what else. This is a Chinook salmon at Barber Park. Barber Park is just right there in Boise.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, look at that.
Mike, did they put in any of the freshwater stripe in any of those lakes up there?
Not that I'm aware of. Okay, hold on.
Did I tell you about my buddy's son? He lives out in Vegas. That he goes to Lake Pyramid.
Excuse me.
And so he has these waders on. He'll wade out there a little ways with a step ladder. He'll crawl up on that step ladder and he fly fishes. And that's where he got his 17-pound lake trout. Is out of Lake Pyramid.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the Great Lakes, they did a hybrid cross between the brown trout and the lake trout. They call it splake. And I don't know if that was success. I know they did it years ago, and they had quite a few of them. So I don't know.
There's a big fish. I've caught lots of fish like this. Well, that's a little baby catfish. That's out of Lake Lowell, down by Caldwell, Idaho.
They're actually pretty good eating right there, Mike.
I love eating catfish. I love eating catfish. A lot of people, and I think I've said this on the show before, a lot of people don't like catfish because they kind of have a muddy taste to them. And the key to that is to cut out all the yellow and the brown spots and just get down to the white meat. And I've cooked catfish so many different ways, and it tastes good. I've grilled it on the grill with just a little lemon and butter. I've barbecued it on the grill with some barbecue sauce. I've fried it, battered it. I've done all kinds of different ways to cook catfish. And I got a buddy named his name's Francis. I call him Catfish Francis because he's the only one I've ever went fishing with that never gets skunked when it comes to catfishing, ever.
I've never had barbecued catfish, but that's interesting.
I just like to try different things. So
Right?
I got tired of cooking it all the same old way, so I thought, you know what? I'm gonna throw some barbecue sauce on this and see what happens.
We if they're pretty good sized catfish, channel or flat or cat, cut the tail and let it bleed out, and that helps not get so much red meat. And then once you go to fillet it out, you cut out all the red meat, just like you were saying, and the gaminess it's not in there.
Mm-hmm. There's another nice fish, another salmon. I don't know. These folks, they definitely know where the fish are at. They're out there catching them.
Yeah, think of all the people that are missing out doing that,
Fly fishing is another hobby of mine. I used to be big into it. I got a lot of equipment for fly fishing, but I haven't done it for years. But I definitely plan on getting out next year and doing a lot more fly fishing because I miss doing it. Because to me, it's just another way of being connected. It's another way of being connected when you fly fish. I don't know. It's relaxing for me. I love all kinds of fishing, but fly fishing is definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's one thing I'd like to try and pick up.
Here we go. Here's where we always end up, Monty. Here's where we always end up. How's that? We always start talking about food on every one of these channels. So that's some freshwater mussels that we get here in Idaho, and it looks like she went ahead and threw some crab in it and some type of gumbo. But doesn't that just absolutely look delicious?
Yeah.
I haven't ate yet this morning, so I'm gonna have to go cook something because it's making me hungry.
That looks like a good breakfast.
You're the first one that. I'm sorry, Pappy.
I said that looks like a pretty good breakfast to me.
Yeah. I could go for that for breakfast. Absolutely.
Mike, you're the one that first mentioned barbecue catfish. So.
Is that what they're saying in the chat, or is that just you? I barbecue a lot of things, man. I'm telling you, if you put just a real light coating on catfish, or I mean any fish, really, I would do it with anything, but even halibut, barbecued. I've barbecued halibut before with a real light coat of barbecue sauce on it. I don't know. I'm a barbecue guy, so I like it, but catfish is really good barbecue for sure.
Yeah.
Mine is from Hawaii, so everything has teriyaki sauce on it. So I would imagine that'd probably work too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd throw some teriyaki sauce on that for sure. So here's a gal that caught a salmon. It looks like that's up toward Riggins. So look at this salmon.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we got some good fishing here in Idaho.
Wow.
Definitely.
That is a monster salmon.
And keep in mind, this salmon's come all the way from the ocean. And like I said, so to get 45 minutes from me, 45 minutes from me in central Idaho on the Oregon-Idaho border or close to it, okay? as far west, almost as far west as you can go. That salmon has to come out of the ocean. It has to come up the Columbia River, and then it has to come up the Snake River, and then it has to fork off and come up the Salmon River. And a lot of these fish also have to go through the dams. We got 3 major dams on the Snake River, which is the Brownlee Dam, and they don't have to go all the way up through Brownlee, but we have the Brownlee Dam, we have the Hills Canyon Dam, and we have the Oxbow Dam. So a lot of these fish have to come up through the dams too to get up into these smaller contributory rivers that go into the Snake. So that's a long trip for these fish, and it's like a magnet, right, Pappy? Right, Monty? These fish have been doing this for generations and for centuries. They've all swam from the ocean up the rivers to spawn, to lay their eggs. Then the eggs hatch. The fish are born, and then they swim all the way back down through the rivers and all that stuff back to the ocean. And it's a pull. It's like a magnetic pull almost for these fish to migrate. Really, they're migrating, right? Am I wrong?
Yep. Correct.
I'm wrong? Or I'm correct.
So,
right.
So that's a steelhead?
Yeah, you're reading back to
That was a salmon. That was a salmon that did that. That's a photo of
Okay,
a salmon.
So steelhead's the trout that goes out to the ocean and comes back in.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm pulling up a couple.
Yeah, the salmon always go back.
Go ahead, Monty.
Oh, no, go ahead, sir.
I said, I'm pulling up a couple of pictures from the area that I was born and raised in of the salmon fishery and the results of it now, just to give you an idea of how successful that has been up there. So just give me a couple minutes, Mike. You'll get them here in a second.
Sounds good. Brian sent me a photo to a deer picture I'm going to show here in a minute. But check out the toilet seat cover. Now, if you are a fly fisherman, you might enjoy that lid right there. So, some people love stuff that much.
I'd be afraid of the seat breaking and you get a hook in the butt.
Well, that's just the lid. At first, I thought it was the ring. I thought, wow, that would hurt sitting on that. That's just the lid. So you're not sitting on that part.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to. Go ahead, brother.
Always go back to that's something that they've done a lot of studies on, because they go hundreds of miles just to go back to the places where they spawned at.
Exactly. All right, Pappy sent me a New York salmon, so I'll bring that up in a minute. So here's a catfish for you.
Nice.
Is that what they call one of them flatheads?
Yeah, kind of looks like a flathead.
Yeah. You can tell by the back tail and then the anal fin right there.
Yeah,
and the head.
We used to get the blue catfish down there in Texas, in the rivers and stuff. And I used to be able to catch them on spinning reels and stuff, just like I was fishing for a trout. It's interesting. They were good eating.
There's lots of species of trout. And I'm gonna Google something real quick so we could all learn. Let me Google something real quick here.
I looked up
Hold
the
on
different.
just a second.
I looked up the different species of trout before from around the world, and there's some outside the United States, like they were Ukrainian, like it was, or something like that. It came from over in that area. That trout's like a black and red speckled. It's
Okay,
amazing.
Without cheating, like I already did, without cheating, I'm going to ask the chat, everybody watching, Monty, Pappy, I'm going to ask you, how many different types of catfish are there on the planet? On the planet. Just take a guess. Shoot from the hip.
Oh, catfish.
7.
Monty says 7.
No.
How many you say, Pappy?
I'm thinking
Oh,
probably
wait a
at least
minute.
179.
179. All right, put your answers in the chat without cheating. How many species, real quick, without Googling it? How many species of catfish are on the planet? Hurry and put your answer in the chat. I'll see who's the closest.
I used to
So
know
Monty
this.
says 7.
I'm
Pappy says
changing-
100.
I'm thinking 49.
Look at that, Brian Smith. He Googled it. Brian Smith
I'm not.
Googled it. Okay, so there are 40 types of catfish families on the planet and above 3,000 catfish species which exist. So here's some names for you. The blue cat, the channel cat. We have blues. We have channel cats here in Idaho too. Flatheads, yellow bullhead. We have that too. That's all they're going to give me without diving deeper into that article. But anyway, if you guys like catfish, there's some facts for you.
Here's a couple more. The Welsh, the Mekong, which is over in Indonesia, in Vietnam, and over in there.
Yep.
And the Welsh is about the biggest species of fish that you can. It gets huge, real huge.
There's another beautiful rainbow trout.
Yep.
I think rainbow, the biggest I've seen a rainbow is right around 18 inches or so. There's a lot of hybrids out there too that they're coming out with now, which they're always trying to one up. It seems God at times.
That place I'm getting ready, fixing to go to here in another week or two. Someone I heard about it and I seen the picture. 8-pound rainbow came out of that little pond.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, how did he get out the
This
I
is
was like,
just
how
a beautiful picture of a river here in Idaho that I absolutely love.
Wow. That is
I
beautiful.
look at that and look at all the spots to drop your lure,
Yeah, that looks real similar to the Payette River we have here in Idaho. It doesn't say what it is, but it looks real similar to the Payette River. What else do we have here? Here's some perch. You want perch, Monty? Here's some real nice perch.
There
That's
you
a
go.
mess of perch right there. My dad
Yes, it
really
is.
loves eating perch. So, I don't know. Fishing to me is just as fun as hunting. I enjoy fishing a lot. With my busy life, I need to quit making excuses about being busy and start getting back to enjoying life. Here's a really nice crappie. I love crappie, man. Man, they fight and they taste good.
Yeah.
That is a white crappie.
Yeah. We got quite a few of them here. So in 1997, we had a massive, massive flood in 97, and it wiped out the crappie population that had just laid its eggs. And it's taken here in Idaho decades for that population to fight back and be prominent again. We used to, when I was a kid in high school before 97, we used to be able to go down to the Snake River and come back with buckets and buckets and buckets of crappie. Depending on how many crappie you wanted to actually have to clean, you come back with 200, 300, 500 crappie in one mess. There was no limit on them. and then 97 hit. It flooded. It wiped out the crappie population, and 10 years later, you'd get excited if you caught one or two crappie in that same river in the reservoirs there, or the below the dams and stuff. One or two crappie 10 years later, you'd be like, oh my God, I caught a crappie. Just now in the last handful of years, it's just now the population is starting to get back to where you can bring home a mess of crappie. And when I mean a mess, you might get like a dozen. So, it's been over 20 years. It's been over 20 years where we used to catch 200, 300, 400 crappie each time you'd go down there. To now you might get a dozen, maybe 2 dozen. Things can definitely change.
Well, you bring up a good point there, Mike, and people don't understand that how much the environment is key to the success of any species. When you get these catastrophic floods or other types of environmental things that happen, it wipes out their habitat. I mean, it probably scrubbed all those rivers and creeks and small ponds and everything right out of the habitat, so it wasn't there anymore. You wash it all down the stream and away it goes. So it takes a long time to build up.
Exactly. I wanted to show this picture real quick because maybe some of you watching don't know this, but when these salmon, trout, and steelhead make their way up the rivers and stuff to their spawning grounds, there are rapids. There's a lot of stuff that these fish have to fight to get back up from the ocean up the rivers to their spawning grounds. And it's amazing to see these fish fly out of the water and jump up through these raging waters at times to get up there to spawn. And I don't know if people realize that's, and I don't want to get back into the politic thing, but that's why a lot of people have problems with damming rivers, because when you dam them, then obviously the fish can't get up the river to the spawning. If they can't make it up to the spawning areas, then they become extinct because they can't recreate, right? They can't procreate. So that's why in the dams here in Idaho, we have what we call fish ladders. And I'll do a segment on that next week because we're running out of time. But I'll pull up some video and some photos for you guys for the fish ladders. They also have what they call fish cages, where they trap the fish in the cages and they use a crane and they lift the cage up over the dam. They swing it around and drop it back in on the other side, up the upper end of the dam, to let these fish continue their journey up the rivers. And of course, I'm sure Pappy and I could get into some philosophy of all that stuff as well. I have no doubt.
More than likely.
But it's just amazing to see God's creatures in action. When you're out there in nature, to see them jumping up, rapids and all that stuff. That's truly amazing.
Well, that's what keeps the species healthy. Is that the survival of the fittest. The most
fight for life
up there. Yeah.
The fight for life. The fight for life is truly amazing.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and.
Life is worth fighting for, Mike.
Yes, it is. It's definitely
It's
worth
a wonderful
fighting
gift
for.
that was given to us.
I'm gonna bring this over here. I want to show your fish real quick, and I got a text from Travis. Our buddy Nilson is out there catching those stripers again. I don't think I wasn't able to email the picture to myself, but he's out there catching the striped bass again. Nilson is 5 days ago, filling the boat bottom up. So let's take a look at Pappy's photos real quick. This one's going to be a little hard to see because it's small, but we'll do our best. So you wanna tell us about that photo, Pappy?
That is a huge salmon that's taken out of the Salmon River in Pulaski, New York. The next photo is also that. And these are the salmon that they had stocked into the Great Lakes years and years ago that now go up those rivers to spawn. And
Wow.
they'll go up as far as the dam in Redfield. The Redfield Reservoir is up there. And that spot has become such a hot spot that I didn't send you the picture. I mean, the fishermen get out there and they line the banks. They're almost touching shoulder to shoulder when the salmon runs are going on. But what I didn't show you is one of the creeks that I grew up on is called Skinner Creek, which is about 11 miles north of Pulaski. And the salmon started running up that small creek, which ran right straight through that 400-acre farm that I was raised on. And that is just a wonderful sight to see because they had never been there before, you know. But
Wow.
they can get some big, huge fish up there.
Absolutely. It's funny when you say the fishermen are shoulder to shoulder. So I got to share something with everybody real quick. When they fish out of riggins off of the banks of the Salmon River for salmon and steelhead, they are all shoulder to shoulder. And let me tell you something, if you want to get into a battle or a war or an argument, go into a fishing situation there where you're a beginner and you don't know what you're doing, because it's a rhythm. It's amazing to watch. And this next spring run, I'll go up there and get some video to share with you guys, because it's amazing to see 20 guys, men and women, kids even, on a bank, shoulder to shoulder, fishing a hole, and to watch them all reel their line at the same time, cast it out at the same time, let it float down the river. It's a dance that they do. And if you're a newbie and you don't know what you're doing and you fall out of rhythm or you tangle up lines with other fishermen, I've seen fist fights right on the side of the river. People getting mad because you messed up their fishing. It's crazy.
So down there in Roaring River, we stand on each side of the bank, right, in Missouri, and you can always tell if someone's not paying attention. They'll cast over there after you've already cast and yours is floating down. And so I've had to release my line so the person that entangled his into mine can undo the knot. I'm like, here, go ahead.
Yep, that's exactly it too. You really gotta, in those situations, you gotta pay attention, and you gotta know what you're doing when you're fishing that close to everyone else around you, or it can cause some stuff that you definitely don't want to get involved with, which is a huge argument. This was sent in by Bonnie, another fish picture. I can't. Let me read what that says real quick. This is one of my small ones out of the Colorado River down in Texas. So this is Bonnie Phelps. That's a nice size fish. That's at least a meal there. I'd eat it. So I'm going to end the show with this other photo that Brian Smith had sent in to us. Come on, download. There we go. Here's some deer. Some nice looking little whitetail there. So Brian Smith sent that into the show. I'm assuming that's right there where he lives.
What state is that?
Well, let me read the email and see if he explains. It's just a photo. It's just a photo. So maybe he can. There's Brian. He can put in the chat where he lives, where that photo was taken. That'd be great. So anyway, thanks for joining us. I don't know what happened to Brock. He dropped off. Maybe he lost internet or something, never came back, but that's all right. It happens. Maybe he saw a big buck out his window and had to go grab his boat. I don't know.
Maybe he had to go jump in a tree.
I'd have had to go jump in a tree. Yeah. Well, thanks for being part of the show this morning. It was awesome to hear your guys' stories. Thank you for sending in your photos, everybody. I really do appreciate it when you guys do that. It really gives me a personal attachment to you guys when you send in photos, and I don't have to pull stuff off the internet. It's really cool when you do that. And Pappy, sir, you and I, we can philosophize anytime you choose. I would love to just have conversation with you. It's always a pleasure.
Well, I do enjoy chit chatting back and forth, and it gives me an idea of where people are coming from when we connect. Like that movie Avatar. If anybody's ever watched that, I picked up on something out of that it for me was profound, because it was me. It was explaining me, and I see that in others. And when you can look at somebody or you can interact with somebody and say to them with meaning, "I see you," that means that you've connected at a different level than the physical. If you catch my meaning.
Yep, absolutely.
I got that connection with you.
Well, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Monty. It's always a pleasure to have you call into the show on Saturday mornings and talk fishing with us. I know you're excited. You're a couple of weeks out before your fishing season starts, and we're looking forward to any video you can send in and photos that you send into the show to show us what you're fishing for. So thanks for joining us this Saturday, folks. We'll be back next Saturday at time is at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, 9 Mountain Time. We'll see if my Yahoo co-host will be joining us next weekend. Hopefully Craig is out there harvesting something, and he'll have some photos and stuff for us. That'd be great. So any final thoughts, final words?
Just go out there, make memories, whether you're hunting or getting out in nature, hiking, camping, fishing. Get out there and make memories with your family.
Absolutely. Happy?
Get grounded with Mother Earth.
Yes.
Yeah, my final thought was be friendly with somebody. You never know when it comes back to kiss you in the face.
Amen. All right, folks. Well, thanks for joining us this Saturday on LWN Outdoors. I hope you guys all get a chance to get out and experience God's creation and experience nature. Get connected and take somebody with you and teach them something. Be good stewards. So have a great Saturday. We'll see you back here next weekend. See you guys.